Thank you, brothers and sisters. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that introduction. It's been a while. I haven't been at a podium in a while speaking because I've been doing the NHL gig here. And, I listened to my brother, Eddie Kelly, go up here. So, I don't know how I'm trying to, I have to compete with him. I don't know how good I'm going to do, Eddie, so I'm not going to, today I think you win. But let me just say a couple things. You heard the introduction. I'm going to repeat a little bit of that. I want to thank my dear friend Eddie Kelly, your general president, who is truly a remarkable leader in the labor movement in the United States, in Canada, North America. He's a dear friend. His accomplishments and what he's done to come to this role is really remarkable. Eddie doesn't sit back and wait. He goes out there and fights for what he believes is right for his members. And I want to thank you, Eddie Kelly, for your friendship. I want to thank you for everything you do. And you might be up backstage, but thank you, Eddie, and your family. I also want to give a shout out to Frank Lima, the General Secretary, who I met when I was Labor Secretary. We were out in California to an event together, actually a few times, and I want to thank you, Frank. You and Eddie's leadership, certainly in the labor movement, is remarkable and needed right now, so thank you as well, Frank, for the work that you do. 3rd District Vice President Jay Colbert. Jay, you're here somewhere from Massachusetts. Thank you, Jay. We worked the State House together, the halls of the State House together. I want to thank Jay for his great work. Richie McKinnon from the Professional Firefighters of Massachusetts. Thank you, Richie, for your support as well. And if there's a little team here. Sorry, everyone in the country. I got to give my Massachusetts and Boston boys a shout out. Just a little bit here while I have the microphone. And I also want to just, local 718 President Sam Dillon, congratulations on Baby Rose. Sam, I know you're here, you're tired, and thank you for your leadership as well. You know, you saw pictures on the screen here. And one of those pictures is me sitting with my father. My father's an immigrant from Ireland. He came to Ireland from Ireland in 1956. And he came to America looking for a better life. And he met my mother here. They got married. They settled in Dorchester. We live in a 3-decker house. And in my house, what we talked about growing up was organized labor. We talked about unions. My Uncle Pat ran the laborers union in Boston, and my father was a construction laborer. And we understood it. I didn't really understand at the time, but the importance of collective bargaining, the importance of solidarity. And as I got older, I got more involved in politics. My story's no different than any of our stories here. Dropped out of college, went back to college later in life, got sober, ran for the legislature, got elected to the House of Representatives in Massachusetts. And when I got elected to the House of Representatives in Massachusetts, what I saw and what I remember seeing is candidates for office, and no disregard for them, but they talk about their great-grandfather or their grandfather was a union member in the textile industry or in the mines industry or what have you. And what used to get me upset was when elected officials said that their policies, the way they vote, were different than what they talked about when they came to us the first time. They talked about the importance of collective bargaining. They talked about the importance of workers' rights. We need to get back to that. When I was in the House of Representatives, I stood shoulder to shoulder with the firefighters to make sure that we didn't see changes to our health care, to pension benefits, to fire safety equipment. I ran for mayor of Boston. Local 718 was with me every step of the way. We weren't supposed to win. I was told that I was too union to run the city. I was told I would owe the firefighters, the police officers, the EMS, and all the union members in the city of Boston. And I got elected as mayor of the city of Boston. And we worked collectively together to restore faith back in our fire department. My commissioner, former Commissioner Joe Finn is here, Richie Parrish, who was the president of the union at the time. We had two other commissioners. Jack Dempsey was also the commissioner, and John Hassan. What we did in Boston is that we replaced every single piece of fire apparatus. What we did in Boston is negotiate 2 contracts that paid our firefighters. What we did in Boston is making sure we built the first new firehouse in 40 years. What we did in Boston was work collaboratively together with the fire department. What we didn't do in Boston is I didn't get picketed. What we didn't do in Boston, I didn't get taken to arbitration. I didn't have all those fights because I understood as a young kid living in my kitchen the importance of supporting working class people. And that's what we did here in the city of Boston. When President Biden, before I go there, 3 months into my role as mayor of Boston, I was in my office, and I got a phone call from Richie Parrish. And Richie said, you got to get down to Beacon Street. There's a 6-alarm fire at Beacon Street. By the time I got down, there was 7, 8, and 9. There was one firefighter in the building, and the one firefighter was taken out of the building. And I stood on Beacon Street with Richie Paris as I watched Joe Finn and other firefighters, many are in this room today, fight bravely to get Eddie Walsh out of that building. Eddie Walsh and Michael Kennedy lost their life on that job. We were in the midst of a negotiation during that time. And I thought to myself, and there was this group of oversight group in the city that was criticizing me for giving too much away to the fire department in the contract negotiation, even though they didn't have the number yet. So I brought the guy in my office and I said to him, have you ever been to a fire? Have you ever been on a ladder truck, watching firefighters on top of the ladder truck, putting the fire out with the flames shooting back at them, with one of their brothers inside the building? Have you ever been there to watch young people show up on the street in their sneakers and putting their gear on, wanting to rush the building because one of their brothers was in the building? Have you ever done that? And his response was no. Then get the hell out of my office, because I don't need you to tell me how to take care of the firefighters when they take care of us. My last job, or what I think my last job in politics was, and might not be my last job, who knows, I'm not making press today, was I got a phone call from President Biden, who has always been a supporter of the firefighters, by the way, when he was a senator and as president and vice president and president. And he asked me to be his labor secretary. And when the president of the United States of America calls you, you don't say no. And I was mayor of Boston. I loved my job as mayor of Boston, but I went down to Washington. And I went into the Oval Office one day, and my first time really in there, and I'm thinking to myself, here I'm a kid from Dorchester, Massachusetts. I'm in the Oval Office with the President of the United States of America, and what he was talking to me about was unionization. What he was talking to me about was working people. What he was talking to me about was firefighters and police officers and laborers and carpenters and pipe fitters and Amtrak workers and all of that. And he said, the one thing I want you to do, Marty, the one thing I want you to do is never stop fighting for working people. And I know you're not. That's why I put you there. And for 2 years, I had a chance to working with firefighters that put forest fires out to make sure they get better wages and better health conditions and pay. Working to make sure that the benefits, Joe Finn works with the cancer, understanding that the #1 cause of death in the fire service is cancer, occupational cancer, making sure that you have the services and what you need there to move that forward. I know that's Eddie pushes that. And I served a couple of years down in Washington, D.C. And what I saw down in Washington, D.C., as far as politics go, I come from a neighborhood, me and Eddie come from a neighborhood, is what you say is what you do. If you promise something, you got to do it. If you say you're going to do something, you better do it. You better not run away from a situation. You better not run away from a fight if there's a fight going on. That's how we grew up. I went down to Washington. I saw a lot of people dodging and diving about how we move forward in America. It frustrated me being in front of Congress, getting questions from congressional members around the country that were asking me the dumbest questions that I've ever gotten in my life, and not focusing on what was important for people that we represent. It bothered me as well because I couldn't talk about it when I was labor secretary. But you know something? I can talk about it today. And I think it's important. And the reason why I say this room that we're in today, some of you might never vote for me if I was on the ballot because you're like, he's too progressive. Or he doesn't believe in what I believe in, or he believes in something I don't believe in. The first thing I want to say to you, all of you in this room, because you're leaders, and bring it back to your fire stations around the country, is that you need to be involved in the political process. Because what happens at state houses, what happens in Congress, what happens in city halls impacts you every single day. And if you're not engaged, then you know what's going to happen? You're going to lose out. Just ask Les 718. For the years before I was mayor of Boston, that the firefighters were not the priority in the mayor's office. The day I got sworn in as mayor of Boston, those priorities changed. The firefighters were at the top of the list. Why? Because I understood it's not about me, it's about people understanding what you do. Union brothers and sisters, we have to be involved. We have to get out there. We have to be involved in the political process. I don't care. You might say, I don't believe and he's full of shit. Whatever you want to say, that's fine. Maybe I am a little bit, but I'm not full of shit on this point. What happens in Congress, what happens at state houses, and what happens at City Hall impacts your life every single day. You might watch Fox News and say, we're not going to do this because of that. That's fine. You might watch CNN and say, I'm not going to do that because of this. That's fine too. But don't vote against your own interests. Don't vote against somebody who's going to fight for your pension rights, for your health care rights, for your safety rights, making sure that you have all of the tools and the apparatus that you need to do your job, so when you go out in the morning, you can come home to your family and sit across from them and have dinner with them. Because if you don't vote that way, you won't have that support. Brothers and sisters, we have to do this. That's what's at stake in every single election. Every election. Whether it's the presidency or a town council. I can't stress enough about that. I can't stress the importance of that. My union book's in my pocket, my dues are paid. I love being a union member. I love the labor movement. When I went for my hearing in front of Congress, I talked to people how much I loved it. When I was running for mayor of Boston, how much I appreciate the labor movement. And I said, we were talking one day in the campaign office about what do we say because you're getting bashed about being a union member. And I came up with, I wear it as a badge of honor because I'm proud of it. The members in this room today that didn't grow up in a union family because you didn't have the opportunity that I did and Eddie did and other people did, well, you're in it today. The veterans in the room today, you understand the solidarity. Thank you for your service to our country. To the union members in this room, before this, thank you for your commitment to the labor movement. And to all of us, we have to be united. I didn't get a chance to say goodbye to my local 718 when I left being mayor of Boston because I brought down to Washington. And I didn't get a chance to say goodbye to my labor brothers and sisters when I left Washington to go work for the National Hockey League Players Association. So today, Eddie Kelly and Frank have given me this opportunity to say thank you to you, my brothers and sisters. I know it's ceremonial, but I'm an honorary member of Local 718. That's more than honorary for me. I got my honorary membership for the International the other day in the mail. That's more than honorary for me. If you go to my office at my house and you open up my drawer, right when you look inside is my 2 union cards from the firefighters. Because I know the work that each and every one of you do every single day. I know when you go to work in the morning that you don't know what's going to happen during the course of that day. You might not be battling a large fire, but you might go to a house where a little person is sick or an older person has a heart attack or somebody's overdosing. When people pick up that phone and call 911, they don't want Marty Walsh or elected officials to show up at their front door. They want the firefighters to show up at their front door. They want paramedics to show up at their front door. To the guests in this room, thank you for standing by the men and women who are in this room fighting for us and working for us to keep us safe. And to America, this is one former mayor, one former labor secretary, one former elected official that will say these words every single day. I love the firefighters. I will always stand with the firefighters. I will always stand with you. No matter where you are, where you go, what you need, I will always stand with you. Thank you. God bless the firefighters, and God bless the United States of America.